morning, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning?
Good.
I encourage you, if you want to be able to see a little better, feel free to join the audience that's sitting back here, because I'll be in front this morning. How many of you struggle when you try to figure out what you're going to talk about when you're going to give a speech? You sit down and there's just no real words that come to mind. What should I talk about today? What's going to be entertaining? What can I get through without making a fool out of myself? There are a couple ways that you can format speeches, but I think the most effective one that I've ever found is either called fishbone or fish scale or even the snowflake method. And it's a great way to be able to formulate your thoughts, to be able to present a speech that is efficient, flows, and it conveys what you're trying to say. So what is a fish scale method? What do you have to do to get started? First thing, you're going to have to come up with a topic. Any topic. What should that topic be? When you're trying to figure out the general idea of what you're going to talk about, think about the things in your life that you're qualified to talk about. What are those things that you really know? Thomas, you can talk about taxes. You can talk about AT&T and phones. Michelle, you can talk about Harley-Davidsons. You can talk about Toastmasters. Tim, you can talk about being an entrepreneur. I can talk about engagement and baseball. There are lots of things that throughout our lives we have garnered enough information that we are experts and garner the respect to be able to talk about those things. But there are things that we don't know about. Thomas will be a horrible speaker on astrophysics. Michelle would be a horrible speaker on the role of the quiet librarian in society.
Oh, yeah.
They're not things that that you can demonstrate expert opinions on. So first, pick something that you love, that you know, and that you can talk about. So let's say this morning we're going to talk about baseball. So in the center, our topic is baseball. One topic, baseball, right? Now from there, we need to have a couple of things to start with. First, you need to have an idea of what it is you want to talk about with baseball. And you know what for Toastmasters, we talk about the triad. We talk about three things because the human mind doesn't really remember more than three things. That's why phone numbers have three numbers in an area code, three numbers in the first three digits in the prefix, four numbers in the suffix of a phone number. 3 to 4 things maximum is all our brain can process. So pick 3 things. So draw 3 lines. 1, 2, and 3. Those are going to be your 3 main points to talk about baseball. So let's see, what do I want to talk about with baseball? Well, first, I want to talk about how baseball builds character. Now, in building character, what that means to build character is baseball is a very humbling sport. I want to talk about how it humbles you. How you can be an all-star, you can be a Hall of Famer and still fail 70% of the time. If you hit 300, you had a great season. If you hit 400, you're legendary. If you hit 400, you failed 60% of the time. I want to talk about humbleness. And within humbleness, I'm going to talk about the stats. Interesting. Now, what else does baseball have to do with character? It teaches you have to work hard. It teaches you have to practice. The average major leaguer has already spent 10,000 hours practicing their sport before they get to the major leagues. I'm going to talk about 10,000 hours. Okay, very interesting. Now I have a couple of things that I can support with character. And within these, I'm also going to try to find one story. And if you want to find one story, the easiest thing for here, talk about someone's stats, or talk about how you know someone who practiced. We have one area of our speech. Now, what else do we want to talk about with baseball? Baseball is a long season. 162 games. To make the playoffs, 163. Pirates lost last night, 8-0. Their season is done now, 163 games. It's a long season. It takes determination. what am I going to talk about with determination? Well, first, since 162 games long, I want to talk about physical fitness. I want to talk about mental fortitude. Let's see, I also want to talk about PEDs, because not every baseball player has been able to stay away, and their determination to be great was clouded by bad judgment. You can't really talk about baseball these days without talking about PEDs. Performance-enhancing drugs, or PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, steroids, amphetamines, things you take that make you better than what you should be. Right? Now, the third thing I want to talk about with baseball, we talked about determination, we talked about character. Baseball also is our pastime. It's our pastime. So with our pastime, three things we can talk about with pastime. First, how long has baseball been around? 18-ish. 1870-something. Talk about Abner Doubleday and how he founded the game. You can talk about the amount of people that come to baseball games and participate. And then you can find a personal story in there about what baseball means to you. Now, you can look at your snowflake or your fishbone here, and you can see you haven't repeated any thought. It's very easy to be able to see visually. I know that each one of my points is separate. I'm not going to talk about the same things in character as it did in determination, as it did in the pastime. They're all going to be separate. If you realize, as you're doing this, all of a sudden, oh, I'm talking about the same thing 3 times, at that point, you can shift. It gives you a great idea of where to shift things. The last thing you're going to do is you want to have a great opening sentence and a great closing sentence. An opening sentence. Who has trouble figuring out what you want to talk about in a speech? Or a great closing sentence. Use the fishbone model, and you'll be able to craft a better speech and a better evaluation to support your growth as a Toastmaster. Tabletop Master? Mr. Tabletop Master? Or Toastmaster?